Hi everyone. Just give it a couple of minutes just for any strugglers to join us. It's 11:01 now, so we'll just give it a couple of minutes. It's nice to see quite a lot of people in here. Charlie, Chris, Kelly, Louise, Matt, Mark, both Marks, Sam, Brian, Tom. Yeah, it's great. Really nice to have you all with us today. So what we're going to do as well, and I'll keep talking whilst we wait for anyone else to join. Questions, fire them in. We've got Jamie and Louis on the chat as well, so they're going to be monitoring the chat for me, and I'll be firing their questions through at the end. So just literally chuck them into the chat. Any questions that you have along the way, we'll do our best to answer them. Again, it's not always possible to answer all questions, but if we've got a list of the questions, we'll come back to you regardless at the end. So yeah, it's got a few more joining now. Dean, yeah, Tom, Greg, hi Greg, Andrew. But yeah, we'll just give it a couple more minutes because I can still see lots of people joining. It's Friday after all, right? So everyone's going to be a few minutes late or a few minutes behind. Awesome. Don't forget, this is also being recorded as well. So if there's anything you miss or I go too quickly through, then obviously you can catch up on the recording afterwards. Equally, if you need to jump off because you've got a meeting or something, you'll grab the recording at the end, so you can yeah, sit down and watch it a bit later. Awesome. Right, I'll give it one more minute and then we'll get started. All right, let's get into it. So, Microsoft 365 Copilot. Firstly, thanks for everyone who's joining today. It's actually lovely to see so many people join the call. When you put these things together, obviously you've got an idea of how you want it to go, and to see lots of people join and come and learn about 365 and Copilot, and AI in general. So we'll cover a little bit of that. It's really nice to see. So thanks again for everyone for joining. So purpose of today, and I'm going to be really quick because I'm going to try and fire this through because we've only got 45 minutes and there's quite a lot we want to cover. So what we're doing today, we're going to talk about what is Copilot, where it works inside of Microsoft 365. We're going to have a little play. We've got a few little demos that we'll go through and sort of show you the things that it does. I was going to show you the difference between the free tier and the paid tier. However, in the last 24 to 48 hours, Microsoft have just announced that they're going to pull a lot of the features from the free tier. So, which is really annoying because all those slides now really don't matter. So what I'll try to do as I go through, I'll try to explain where the free tier comes into play and where the premium tier comes into play. And I'll do my best to do that, but just so you're aware, they've just changed the parameters quite dramatically. So, and I think the idea is that they want most people onto the paid tier, as you can imagine. And then we'll go through some security basics and the common mistakes that people make. And then we'll go through, hopefully, if we've got time, we'll build a Copilot agent. And I'll talk through what a Copilot agent is when we get there. So firstly, for those that don't know, what is Copilot? Well, Copilot is a very good assistant. It's not magic. It isn't a magician. It isn't going to do all your work for you like some people think it does. It's designed to help you work faster. It's designed to get the knowledge in your face quicker, in your hands, so you can do all the things that you need to do. It definitely doesn't think for you, and you still need to use your brain. So please, when you're going and using AI, make sure that you still check and quantify what the response is that you get, because I think a lot of people don't do that, and happy to send out whatever comes out of Copilot, and haven't really sanity checked it. And sometimes it doesn't even make any sense. So, and we can cover a little bit more of that later. So it doesn't think for you. It's an assistant. It's there designed to help you and inform you, but it's not really designed to do all of your work for you. Although it will adopt and it will do some more things for you, some meaningless tasks, I suppose we could see it like that. But it isn't designed to do your work. It isn't going to replace you. And I think that's been a big fear for a lot of people with AI. It's not designed to replace you, but if you don't start to use it, for sure, you will get left behind, because there are a lot of good things that it will do for you, and a lot of people are using it, and work now is moving a lot faster because of that. So what is it good at? It's good at drafting and rewriting emails, summarizing meetings and docs, finding information you already have. I mean, it's really good at that. Reducing admin and repetition. So those small tasks that you're constantly doing, there's going to be a lot of things that come through with Copilot, co-work, etc., where those tasks will be done for you. It'll get rid of that repetition, and you can look to start to use AI to take away those meaningless monthly tasks or weekly tasks that you consistently do, so you can focus on some more meaningful work. It can help you get started with documents. We've all been there. You know, you've got to start a proposal, or you've got a tender that you've got to fill out, or something along those lines, and you just really don't know where to start, or a letter that you just can't quite get right that you need to send to somebody. It's a great place to start with that. It will give you some points. Then you can go in and you can edit it further, and you can collaborate together to make the document the thing that you want. And now, obviously, the creation of assets. So images, we've all seen what can be done with images, like on social media. You've got PowerPoints that it can create, PDFs, infographics, all sorts of stuff. So it is really good at doing a lot of the grunt work for you, and then you come along and you finesse it, make it great, and then send it out. What Copilot is not, well, it's no good at making coffee. I think we've all established that, and we all love coffee. So it's definitely no good at that. It isn't a replacement for thinking, as I've already said. You still need to use your noggin. So definitely, whenever you get a response, still sanity check it and have a look. It's not always right. Again, sanity check it. Doesn't always give you the correct answers, and it certainly isn't psychic. And I think that's a really important part of today. Prompting, how you prompt and what you say to Copilot or another AI agent is really important. You have to give it some level of context. Simple little sentences, yeah, they might work to get you a really quick response, but what they don't do is really sort of dig down into what you're trying to achieve, and then you can find yourself in a chat, and somewhere along that chat, things can get lost, and the context of what you were trying to achieve can get lost. So it's definitely not psychic. So really work on those prompts, and I'll show you some prompts when we go in there in a second. Copilot is an assistant, and assistants are not always right. You know, I think we, on a whole, when we're trying to use Copilot, we definitely need to continue, and I know you'll hear me as a theme all the way through this. It's not always right, and I think even in my live demo today, we're probably going to find some answers maybe that don't quite meet the ticket that we were looking for. So always remember that Copilot and the response that you get isn't always going to be right. Cool. Right. So I'm going to jump in to one of the first things that we're going to do, which is actually teaching Copilot about you. So one of the really cool things that you have to do with a lot of these AI agents is inform, let it know who you are, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to open up Copilot, and I'm going to share this with you. Give me 1 second. Awesome. Right. So we've got Copilot over here, and we are actually in mine. So we've got to be really careful about what we're going to put in here. But I've gone through and I've sanity checked all my data, and I'm pretty confident that we've configured it in the right manner. So one of the first things that we should be doing, and when you first comes out of the box, one of the one of the key prompts that I try and get people to put together is inform Copilot who you are. So I've got a prompt over here that I'm going to copy over. And some of these prompts I will get sent out afterwards. So we're going to ask Copilot to understand how I work so you can support me better. So I'm going to get him to ask me 5 short questions to learn how I communicate, the type of work I do most often, and the tools I mainly use in Microsoft 365. I'm not going to answer these questions now because ultimately I've already done this before. So I don't want it to then affect my Copilot and the way I've trained it already. So, but if I'll show you what it does. If I ask this prompt, and again, I'm really nervous around some of this stuff because it's a live demo and it's not always bomb proof. So let's see what he comes back with. But the idea of this is for it to really learn about me, and it should ask me a bunch of questions about how I would like to, when you write messages, do you prefer short and direct or more detailed? And should the tone be formal, friendly, or a bit playful? And I can literally click one of these down here. I prefer the short, direct, and friendly messages. Keeps it nice and simple. Yeah, what type of work do you ask from me for most often? So emails, proposals, SOPs, etc. They are the things that usually I find myself doing. I'm not going to continue to answer these questions, but you get the idea. So what you're looking to do is you're trying to train, or you are training Copilot to learn about you and learn all the little nuances of your day and the things that you do. You can actually ask it to ask you 10 questions and it will go a lot further. But this prompt, what I'll do is I will make sure on the follow-up email where you get the recording, etc. It may not be in the same email as that, but I'll put some of these prompts in there so you can see, because this is a really, really handy one to really get Copilot to sort of build out some reasoning behind the way that you work. Cool. Right. Let's go into our second prompt. And we just go over here. Yes, that's what we want to do. Okay, so I'm going to ask it now, and I'm going to ask it to draft an email to Enzo Ferrari. We're looking at trying to take on Ferrari as a managed service customer. That's one of our agendas today. So I need to draft an email to Enzo Ferrari. Sit down to our proposal. And a lot of you might have played this already in Outlook. I'm not jumping into Outlook. There's a bunch of stuff in there that obviously we don't really want to get into, but typically this should actually ask us to take it out into Outlook. Here you go. And then at the bottom there, you've got edit in Outlook. I can also then decide to tighten it up further for a sort of senior board level tone. I can make it a little bit more in depth if I want to. I can even go as far as asking it to put the team's invite in there where they can go and select, at a time. You can really go to town. You can see how this could be used quite quickly for sort of prospecting and getting emails out to potential customers, that you probably wouldn't have done previously. Key things to look for, the tone, picking up on the type of customer that you're trying to speak to, using the correct tone. So if it's very senior, you're looking at that sort of board level tone that you want to get across. If you already know the person, you might want to be a little bit more casual in your response, and making sure that when you are asking it to do something, that you are telling it what type of tone that you want. You can make this prompt a lot more in depth, and you can obviously say which bits and pieces that you want it to add in there. So yeah, again, really simple, easy to use. Email subject, a lot of people struggle with knowing what to put into the email subject. It gives it to you automatically without any issues. So nice and simple. Drafting emails. You can see down the bottom here, it's got add a suggested meeting duration, etc., etc. So, and even here, it's already starting to reference. I created something earlier, which we'll get into in a second. Turn it into a follow-up version, referencing the proposal being sent previously. So, it's already starting to pull through. So, which is great. You know, it's already picking up what's already in my OneDrive ready to go. And so what we'll do is we're going to jump out of here. And again, I'm going to apologize for jumping around windows because I'm going to go straight into Word. So give me 1 second. Brilliant. Okay. So AI acceptable use policy. So we have created this AI acceptable use policy. Most of you will get a copy of this in off the back of this call too. This is something we've been preparing for the customers, just to try and help our customers try and build out something like this. Again, it can be just a starting place to get going. You know, you might have your own policies already, but there's a bunch of stuff in here that you could potentially use. So that's why we've gone ahead and got this created. One of the key things that we want to cover today, obviously with Copilot, is for the paid version of Copilot, you have this bar at the top here, which you can view more. The interesting thing that Microsoft just come up with, and I think that's the piece that we really need to cover today, is in the free version, you obviously did have a Copilot within your Word. Obviously now that isn't going to continue. They are now doing away with that. So they are only allowing you to use Copilot through that chat place where we've just been creating those emails, etc. They also won't have the little edit in Outlook and the difference between pulling through to apps, etc. Again, these are changes that have just come in the last 24, 48 hours. So that's what they're planning to do, is to remove that, to try and get everybody onto the sort of paid version. You know, so the good thing is the chat thing still does work really well, but it isn't going to do a lot of that hand holding or that lot pushing over to the other app. But you're still able to use it for, you know, for those that can't afford to go down the route of paying for a Copilot license. It still does have that ability to be able to interact, etc. So brilliant. This is something I use quite often. A lot of the summaries now are becoming really handy. It took a bit of getting used to start with, because you know I'm not used to seeing a summary of a document. I'm used to going down and spending my time reading the document. But as you can imagine, things can get quite busy, and the summary becomes really handy, especially if you're checking documents for other people. If you've got tenders and you're having to read through the tender because someone's asked you to have a look, and get a good understanding of what's going on straight away, without having to sort of deep dive in. So yeah, document outlines are comprehensive AI acceptable use policy designed to enable safe, responsible, compliant use of AI tools within a company environment. So it's going to give you a quick brief. I'm going to ask it to open in chat. What I should note there actually also is you can go brief, standard, or detailed. Detailed, obviously, if I change that, it will go through and do that now, but it can give you a lot more detail. And I think for longer documents, you know, this is a 13-page document. Having a detailed response, it takes a lot longer to pull together, but it is a lot more detailed, and it will go through almost page by page. So it's definitely worth looking at these little buttons. They're not that easy to see, but you know, they definitely are worth using the detail button when you need to. Also, as far as the thumbs up and the thumbs down is concerned, if you generally read that and then you've had a skim through the document, and I advise you to also skim the document, if you do think the response was good and it was correct, definitely give it the thumbs up. If you think it was incorrect, give it the thumbs down, because it will learn the type of behavior. And that is really important. And I think something we're not doing enough of. And I think we need to give our AI agents and our assistants feedback. That's really, really, really important. Okay, cool. Right. So over here, I'm going to ask this question because I can't read through all of this today, but I need to know a very quick answer. Or I already understand that there's something in there referencing this, but I need a very quick answer about this piece. So, can I, as an employee, can I use my own personal Claude subscription? Claude is another AI tool. Claude subscription. This is where my spelling is probably not going to come through. Thankfully, Copilot doesn't pick on you when you got bad spelling. Cool. So instantly, I've got a response there. No, not for company business. Based on the policy in the document, only IT-approved AI tools may be used for business purposes. You may only use AI tools and vendors that have been formally approved and set up by the IT department. And obviously, it goes on and on and on. And then obviously, you can then go on to say, explain how to request. I can say list approved AI tools for brainstorming. And it's starting to prompt you straight away the things that you can do. There you go. It's instant. You're going to say only the things in Appendix A, which, if I believe, for correct, it's somewhere right at the bottom. So yeah, you're going to have an authorized list here of the things that are able to be used in amongst your business. So it's a really quick way of getting into the detail of a document without going too mental. And certainly if you've got lots of things going on, lots of different documents that are coming in, and you only need to check various different items for yourself. That's really, really important. Cool. Right. What I want to do next is I'm going to stop sharing again while I jump to another screen. I'm going to pop that up. PowerPoint. Okay, so not done this yet, so I'm going to be this may go extremely bad. So well, let's see what we can do. I'm hoping that I can. I believe I can do this. Will it let me do that? Nope. I don't want to do that. Give me 1 second. Is it going to let me? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. And again, this is all good with demos, isn't it? Ah, brilliant. Okay, fine. Right. I'm going to give you back the screen again. Did say that it could be quite scrappy with the demos back and forth, but that's the joy of doing these things live. So if I go, I'm going to add it in the new client manual. I'm going to also add in 2 PDFs. So I've got 2 PDFs in there that I'm going to add in, and then I'm going to come down and I'm going to build out a prompt. From the 2 attached PDFs, one of them is our client manual, which a lot of you might have already seen, and the other one is our managed services agreement for Ferrari that we put together. So from the 2 attached PDFs, I would like you to put together a slide deck for my presentation of the proposal. I want, this is good in the text in on a demo. I want you to keep this very formal and use as much the information from my PDFs as possible. Please don't go off to the internet for any further information. All right, let's see what this does. Now, bear in mind, I've not actually done this prompt before, so I literally came up with this a few minutes before we started. I started, and I thought, right, if I put these two together, let's see if we can create a PowerPoint. So let's just hope it goes really well. Let's see what happens. This could be a monumental fail, or it could be really, really good. So it's collecting context about your presentation, determining how to implement the changes. You notice down here, I've got this little button that says edit. So that button, edit, that's allowing it to physically do the things in the presentation. You can have that just on sort of read only or chat, and then it will tell you what to do to the presentation. So if you've already got a presentation that you've created, but you want to ask it some questions, you think, is there a better way for me to do this slide? Is there, can you have analyze my presentation to see if I'm getting my message across and my message is the following? You can ask it to do all of those things, but without it actually changing your presentation. What we're doing here is we're getting it to go and try and build out a presentation. This could be a monumental fail, by the way, because again, we've not done this one before, so done something similar. So I'm hoping it's going to go well. Let's choose this one here. Like, look at that. What image style do I prefer? Let's go. Yeah, let's go 3D pixel. Let's go with that. Actually, not been asked that question before, so that's good. So yeah, there's a few things you can do with this. Obviously, we've got two PDFs there that we've put together. There's a few other ways that you can do this for presentations, taking data from Excel. So if you've got data that's in Excel that you want to visualize, and you want to be able to share that with the team, you can go into Excel, take that data, or you can reference an Excel document straight in your PowerPoint presentation, and it can take that, put it into some lovely graphs, etc., and sort of build out what that looks like for you guys. I'm hoping this is a bit quicker. That can hurry up. That'd be good. But as you can see, a lot of these things, when we come up to it, you've got to really give it as much information as you can. I would actually say that from what I'm trying to achieve here, I probably haven't given it enough. But what I have to hope is that they've managed to read the PDFs well enough that they can take the information and pump it through. It's still going, so this is good. Just because it's slow doesn't mean it is going to be good either. So let's fingers crossed to see what comes out. So there's a few other things whilst it's doing that. I'll try and talk you through. Outlook specifically, there's a bunch of new changes coming to Outlook. One of them is around accepting meetings, and I think that's a really cool piece. There's about the prioritization in your mailbox, which I'm going to send out a couple of little guides after this about doing that on the Outlook app on your phone, and getting that turned on for those with a Copilot license. It's really clever. What it does is you get this really cool, don't know if I can actually show you, probably not. If I see if I've got anything in here, I can, yeah, let's see if we can do it with, okay, no, if that's going to come through. So on the bottom of the, if you have a look there, I don't know if you can see it closely, there's a little yellow dot along amongst all of those emails. Basically, what that little yellow, that's hard to say, isn't it? Little yellow dot, or orange actually, that's a great point. The orange dot means that it's an email that's been sent directly to me, and what's starting to happen, because I turn on prioritizing my Outlook, is it's starting to prioritize mails that are specifically for me. So if you remember that you can have focused inbox and other, and it tries to move your newsletters over there, and it used to get mail all over the place and you was all getting very confused. What this is going to do is it's going to allow you to change the prompt parameters. So you can put into there exactly the different bits and pieces that you want. So if it's email from your colleagues, so say for instance, anyone at tootechnical.co.uk, I absolutely want that email to be prioritized and I want you to flag that that's something I need to respond to. But if it's a newsletter and it's somebody trying to sell me new shoes or some computer hardware, whatever it may be, it's not going to flag that. It's going to literally tell me that's a newsletter. It's not going to put a little pin next to it and say, hey, this is something that you need to do. So that's really cool. While this is doing this, I'm going to let this carry on because it can do it in the background. I'm going to jump back into our main slide. So give me 1 second because it's taking forever. We'll go through some of the security pieces because I know we're all short on time and I don't want to get caught up in we go. Cool. Okay, let's go back through slides. Where are we? Cool. So whilst that's doing that presentation, I'll go through some of the security points that we should really go through. So good thing with Copilot, it only sees what you can already access. So say, for instance, you've got a team of 10 people and you've all got different permissions for different bits like HR, finance, etc. Copilot is clever enough to only give you access to what you're allowed to see. You know, it respects the Microsoft 365 permissions that are already in place. That's really important, and I think that's a really important part of adopting a product that also aligns with the stack that you're using. And if the stack is Microsoft 365, that's a really important thing to consider, because you definitely don't want somebody, you know, who shouldn't be able to see HR documents, seeing HR documents, or going to ask Copilot to send me the contract for X, Y, and Z. So the good thing about Copilot, when it's set up properly, and I do mean set up properly because I don't think at the box it is set up correctly. It does need some tweaking. It does need some finessing. And also I would say definitely go and get an assessment of your SharePoint permissions prior to turning it on. It's really good at using that permission set that's already there. So and that is definitely a bonus with Copilot compared to bolting in other tools, etc., into your environment. So really do think about before deciding to give Copilot to your team or share Copilot with your team and allow them to use all of the wonderful functionality. Definitely consider doing an assessment of what permissions you already have prior to going down that route. So obviously, if you've got a very flat structure in your business and everyone can see everything, so can Copilot. Yeah, if you bring somebody into the business and they suddenly got a Copilot license, and you haven't really sorted the permissions out, they're going to be off there looking for whatever it is that they want or getting reference documents that they probably shouldn't have been referenced. So yeah, as that statement is at the bottom there, Copilot doesn't create security problems, it reveals them. So it definitely pulls those problems out and throws them in your face quite quickly. Let me jump into the next one. The big problems we see with AI is shadow IT. So much like I said in that acceptable usage policy earlier, can I use my own personal Claude subscription? Can I use my own ChatGPT subscription? We find we have found, but we're definitely monitoring and we can keep an eye on what is going on. There are people that are using personal ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it is, all the other tools that are out there. I've been using that and they can put company sensitive data in there. And while it might seem harmless, it might seem very harmless. You know, all I'm just trying to do is do my job. I don't really realize what they're exposing. And it could be exposing, you know, trade secrets, IP. It could just be simply somebody else's details, but effectively you haven't really got permission to put that data into what is a public space. Certainly if those tools haven't been tied down and sort of set up correctly to not talk out to the wider world and train the wider world's learning platform. So we do see this a lot. We have seen this a lot. People really just trying to jump in, and it's from our side. That's why it's called shadow IT. It's really hard to monitor. There's some really cool stuff that we can do now that we couldn't do say 12 months ago. to try and start to learn what is going on in environments. But for sure, there is still some way to go, and I think this really does come down to training staff, getting staff to really sort of dive into what the consequences are of putting that data into free tools. Low code apps and agents being built without knowledge, so leaving giant vulnerabilities behind. So people building out low code apps really quickly using code, and that's great. And there's some really smart stuff that's been built. So your own internal business apps, which for years people have had to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds to build. What we're seeing is those low code apps are being built, but they're not necessarily built with any real developers knowledge in the background. And so that actually leaves lots of vulnerabilities in play. And while, yeah, it can definitely speed up the development process of an app, it doesn't mean that the code that's been put into place is secure, and it still can be extremely vulnerable. So I think certainly use it to help develop and build apps and speed up the process, but definitely go in, again, like we said earlier, check the code, get the code verified, break the code, test it, and be sure that what you have built is safe. Decisions made on bad outputs. We see this often. I've seen it a fair few times, people making decisions because they've asked Copilot, what do you think? And Copilot can be biased, right? So it could try and be on your side, or even ChatGPT can try and be on your side when it fancies. Really go and check, ask it to show you the reference document. Say, hey, look, can you tell me where you found that information from? If it hasn't shown you already, and really use that bit to try and quantify what you're reading, and be sure that before you then go and make a decision, that what you've been told is correct. And then another one, which is probably more my pet hate than really a major problem, but I think it will become a major problem for a lot of businesses. Deflection, not resolution. And that's a term that's been sort of coined in the marketing world. A lot of people are really keen to go and put chat agents on their websites, build chat agents in amongst their service offerings and all the rest of it. And you'll probably realize we haven't done that. And there's a good reason for it. Chatbots over the years, and we've all been in a chatbot. Amazon's chatbot, really good, but you can end up in a bit of a loop every now and then. It's really frustrating, and it almost gets to a point where they're trying to deflect away from the responsibility of customer service. And that's also happening quite heavily in the sales area right now. A lot of people have put chatbots on their websites, and they're interacting, asking questions, trying to get understanding of what's going on. How do I buy this product? Is this product any good? Blah, 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 all the usual questions you're going to do. And the chatbot's not really quantifying that sale or really working with that person to build out that sale, because every person will ask a different prompt, as you've noticed, and everyone will, and a chatbot can only really bring through X amount of prompts or know what to say. So I think it's really, really important that if you are going to put chatbots on your website, or you are going to use chatbots in your service, and I call them chatbots because that's essentially what they are. They're an agent, and you've got lots of reasoning and documents and all that behind it. Really think about how that's going to affect the customer service, and be confident that what the resolution that you want at the end of it is the resolution that suits your business and suits the way in which you want your business to be portrayed. And certainly from a sales perspective, I think that's really important. And the same with a service. If somebody is engaging with support and customer service, typically it's because they're already upset, or something hasn't quite gone right. There's nothing worse than ended up in a chatbot who's basically telling you that there's nothing they can do, or call back on Monday because we're all busy for the weekend, and you have to go back through the chat window again to book an appointment or something along those lines. So really think about what the resolution outcome is that you want when using a chatbot. So it's one of my pet hates, where people are just throwing them out there and sort of saying, well, we don't need somebody there to answer the phone, and we don't need somebody else there to sort of respond to these requests. Really think about what that does to the customer journey. So that's one of my pet hates. Okay, right. Before I jump into questions, I know we don't have much time yet. Let me just go and check and see if that finished the presentation. So let's jump out there quickly. Yeah, okay. Let's jump. Let's go in. Cool. So it has. It's gone ahead and it's started to build me out the first draft. And obviously it's coming through with all kinds of stuff here. So proposal outline, too technical, provides fast, reliable support and onboarding per the client manual, defines the scope service model, blah, blah, blah. Again, you can see that a lot of this is probably not how I would want it to come across, but it's a starter. It's starting to build out a framework. It's giving me something to work with. And that's really good because sometimes you can be uninspired and not know what to put down, or you haven't quite got something right. And so you need somewhere to start. So executive summary, Two Technicals mission. I love that one there. Look, Two Technicals mission: help teams be highly profitable, innovative, and efficient using the latest tech. Goes through managed services for Ferrari. Service keeps Ferrari IT in tip-top shape via managed model, unlimited office hours, proactive support. Our friends over at Huntress. Yeah, really good. So, and again, I think it comes down. It's saying about how you engage. It's pulling all of this data out of those PDFs. Support hours. A lot of you will know this already. So you've probably seen that table before. Key contacts, who they are. Escalations. Yeah, cool. What does it say here? And here's the epic amount of money we would be due to make if we worked with Ferrari. That's cool. Yeah, awesome. So you see there, that's a really great way to great place to start. It's given me something to work from. And then I can go in and add some pretty images, make sure the narrative's correct. Or I could just work with Copilot further over here to tighten and expand it so it's a bit more commercial. Or create a one-slide summary, because sometimes if you send this slide deck over beforehand, you want someone to read it. So yeah, really cool. Really cool that it can run through, pull your PDFs and give you a start for 10. Right, let's jump out of here again. Going to find a better way to do this on the next webinar where I'm not jumping around from screen to screen. And then we go back to our presentation. Cool, right. And we go over here. Cool, right, questions. Let's see if we've got any questions in the chat. First one here, cool, right, like that. Chris Sample, yep. Can I use Copilot to search through my file explorer? Will it find specific information that is embedded within files and folders? Absolutely. So one of the really cool things, I'm not going to do it now because it's going to probably pull up a whole bunch of stuff that maybe you guys shouldn't see. But one of the really cool things, the other day I was there, I was filling out a supplier piece of information and I needed to attach our incorporation certificate for something. So, and I knew I had that saved somewhere in SharePoint in a folder, but rather than go digging through my SharePoint and my OneDrive to look for it, literally went to Copilot, said, can you find my incorporation certificate? And it literally within a space of 3 seconds pulled back the exact location, clicked on it, and it was there, dragged it into my email and then passed it through. And yeah, so absolutely it can search through your file explorer and save you a whole ton of time. And it can read the data inside the documents as well, which is also really cool. So if there's something like you just said there embedded within the file, if you've got a project you've been working on and you're pretty confident it said X, Y, and Z, you can then pop that in there, what that X, Y, and Z was, and it will go searching through the documents for you. It may need a little bit of prompt engineering just to tell it to go and look inside files as well and not just do like an overall top skim. But yeah, it can absolutely do that. Kelly, does it retain knowledge of what it's learned? Yeah, absolutely. So like at the start there, the things that you tell it, the things that you do, simple things in Outlook where I always sign off with Speak soon. I'm not really like a kind regards kind of person. It's always like speak soon or take care or something on those lines. Most of my interaction is with clients, etc. And I like that to be I like to be signing off and that's that way. And now Copilot has learned that that is the way that I like to sign off. But you'll also find there's a bunch of settings in Outlook as well around Copilot that will you can actually tell it these little things as well. So you can always say that I start my emails with hi, or some people start them with dear, depending on those little nuances. You can get them put in there for you in advance. Oh, look, Jamie's answered some of the questions whilst we're in here. I should have noticed that. That's good. Do you have a canvas mode like ChatGPT so you can iterate and write together on an email, Word doc, etc.? I think, Greg, I might have shown a bit of that in there. But there's a bunch of stuff for yourself with Adobe and Canva and all the other marketing tools that maybe we should jump on a session and we can go through. Like this slide deck that we built here, that was literally built using Copilot and PowerPoint and a bit of Canva. So you can actually use a Canva agent and then make that work also with PowerPoint, which is quite mind-blowing. So yeah, we should probably jump on a call at some point and go through some of that. If you've used ChatGPT previously, can you transfer the work done? Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of, no. Someone might be able to answer that question better than I do, so we'll take that one offline, Kelly, and see if it's possible. Andrew Humphrey, or is it the recipient spots hallmarks of an AI? Yeah, absolutely. So be mindful that how you respond. I've been engaging with a customer recently, and sorry, let me read the question out. I should probably do that first. What's your perception on how the generated emails are from Copilot? My worry is always that the recipient spots the hallmarks of an AI generated message, and it may detract from the trust and perception of sincerity. Absolutely. I've been engaging with a client just recently, and we've been back and forth, and I know the type of response that I'm getting. I know where these things are being referenced from. I can see hallmarks of AI. There's certain symbols that you're looking for. There's the way in which it puts a sentence together, the sort of tone, all these little things come through. And I think what's really important, Andrew, is that when you're prompting, and it goes into that prompt response, build out the prompt so you're telling it how you want it to respond. Casual, formal. You don't want to have any extra symbols in the message, but then also have a read, because if it doesn't really ring true to who you are and the types of messages you send, well, the other person on the other side will absolutely spot that. So again, it's having that thought process where you're going, would I do this? Is this me? Has my assistant hit the mark here, or has my assistant not hit the mark? So yeah, you're right. Trust is definitely a big thing, and I think that also fills into what I was saying earlier about the sort of chatbots. Be mindful about how you're using AI, certainly with customers, etc. Cool. I'm loving that you guys, Louis and Jamie, are already answering a lot of these questions. So let me see if I can keep flowing through. Yeah, Sam, that's a great question. Does the information you type in stay within your organization or available externally? In Copilot, paid for subscription in 365, absolutely stays within your environment. In the standard one, there's some nuances in the privacy policy, and I would say that that's a very good reason to be using the paid for version, because there are some little nuances where there's some things do get shared externally. Files, no, that's fine. That is set out the box. But there are some little bits and pieces that do tend to travel off afar. So just do be very mindful. Something's free, somebody is usually getting something out of it. So do bear that in mind. With Excel information, will it recognize data? Yeah, Jerome, do you know what? I really couldn't get into Excel today to really go through Excel, but I think we should probably jump on a call at some point, and I can show you a whole bunch of stuff in Excel that would probably really, really helpful, because there's so much it can do, and I think a lot of be a lot of assistance in there that could be quite useful to yourself in a finance role. Right, cool. Hang on, what else we got here? And can I share my chat conversation with colleagues in Copilot? Co-work, yes, that's coming. So there's a whole nother webinar on that, and I probably will go into that. I think that'll probably be really cool. Co-work and working with Copilot and others. That's really smart. But again, there's a lot of new features have just come out on that, which is all part of Microsoft's latest Copilot update. So we should probably jump on do another webinar maybe or a video on that at some point. I found recently that you can significantly improve output by adding the end of a prompt. Ask many questions you need. Yeah, that's a great one, Dean. So literally, using your assistant like a human, like imagine your assistant is sat across the room from you and you are saying, hey, look, if you get any problems, do come back to me and ask me more questions. And that really does improve the output, because if it's unsure on anything, it isn't then going to go and do that psychic thing that we talked about earlier. It's literally going to then dive into asking you more questions. It's not going to do much assumption, which is also really good. So yeah, thanks for that, Dean. That's a very good point. And Sam, I think definitely we should try and do one just on Excel, maybe see what we can do in terms of finance, because I know obviously Jerome's there and Sam and anyone else who's in finance. That probably could be just a great webinar in itself. Cool. Any more questions on here? No. Cool. Well, look, hopefully that was really helpful. Is that there's a lot of jumping around, and there's also an awful lot. There's an awful lot to teach, and it's really hard to try and cram that into a very small session. There's a bunch of stuff in Outlook, but when I took the idea to go and put this together for a webinar, I think what I did I didn't anticipate is that there are maybe 2 to 3 different webinars that sort of drill and dive into each product. So like Outlook in itself, Excel. And I think what we'll try and do, if we've got some good feedback from this one, and please fire the feedback in, just drop us an email, let us know what you thought. We'll put them together and we'll see what we can teach you, because there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that can be done. And again, if there's something you want to know, just give us a shout. We're using Copilot daily. We're learning a lot about Copilot. Things are changing rapidly. We haven't really gone into agents properly, but that's again probably another webinar. Just try and jam it all in, which is really difficult. So yeah, give us a shout, and we'll hopefully going to try and catch you on some other webinars regarding Copilot and the use of AI. But yeah, go play and prompt away as it says there. So I think you can't really break it. Be mindful of what you're putting in if you're using the free version. But for sure, go in there, write up some bigger prompts, etc. We'll send out some examples and that AI policy as well for you guys to use. And we'll catch you all in the next webinar. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.